Hello, and welcome to Songs for the Struggling Artist, the blogcast. This is episode 106, and this post is called Mature, and I will read that to you in a moment. But before we get there, I have a question for people. Are any of you on WordPress? Like, do you blog on WordPress also? And are you experiencing an uptick in kind of weird views on your blogs? I'm getting this normally the blog gets, I'm going to say like between 16 and 25 views. That's like if I haven't posted anything and I'm not like promoting anything and there's nobody else is promoted or whatever, like that's like when nobody's watching, that's where it hangs out. And lately, the last week, it's been like 60, 70, and most of those views are just to the homepage. Like, and the referrals, there's only like search engines, and there's only 2 of those views. Anyway, it's very confusing, and I don't know whether it's a bot, but it's clearly in the United States. It's very mysterious. I think it's a bot because it does like, homepage, and then it also just does single views of random posts that seem to have no logic to how they are connected. Or, this is my other theory, that somehow I've gotten enough views that I'm appearing in more Google searches somehow, and that Google is promoting the blog maybe more, although I feel like that would trigger the search engine referral. Anyway, I am trying to understand it, and I probably don't need to. I could just enjoy the illusion that 4 times as many people are reading the blog than usual. But if any of you are tech savvy or are also on WordPress and have some insight into this, I would love to understand. So this post is called Mature, and I'm just going to read it to you. Mature. I have arrived at the point in my career wherein people are starting to call my work mature. It has happened with my playwriting, it has happened with my singing, and I do not like it. In both of these instances, mature seemed to be meant as a compliment. Mature is not yet code for old, I don't think, but meant to suggest a kind of complexity and evolution, I think. So, why don't I like it? Surely I want my work to mature, right? I want my work to age like a good cheese or a fine wine, don't I? Don't I? I don't know. I'm trying to understand why maturing doesn't please me. At the heart of my discomfort is the dismissal of what came before. If this play is mature, it suggests that the plays that came before were immature. Just little adolescent saplings running around untethered. It implies a kind of linear artistic development, and I just don't think such a thing exists. An artistic life does not travel in a straight line. It circles. It comes back around to ideas from the past and brings them to the future. It's like this conversation my partner and I had about Shakespeare. He noticed that sometimes when scholars don't have definitive evidence for when a play was written, some of them will group the plays thematically. That is, they think because Shakespeare wrote a play about fathers with disobedient daughters in one year, that would suggest the undated father-daughter play would be around the same time. To me, that's bananas. While certainly we all have our artistic phases where we obsess over one thing for a while, we also have artistic touchstones, ideas that we return to again and again, ideas that we investigate anew from a new place in the circle. And maybe that's why I find the idea of maturity so uninteresting. I mean, Shakespeare, again, is a good example of this. Some might say Hamlet is his most mature play. It sits at the top of achievement in Western literature, and yet it sits right in the middle of his career. Probably written in 1600, Shakespeare had many other plays to write after that one. Some of those plays are very silly, and some of them are quite wild, including my favorite, Cymbeline. Which plays are the most mature? Maybe it's my clown training, but I am not particularly interested in maturity. Maturity has airs of seriousness, waves of severity that just don't connect with my sense of play. When someone calls me immature, they are usually pointing out my irreverence, silliness, or nonconformity. I value all those things tremendously. I know maturity doesn't necessarily mean I've lost my irreverence, but maturity smells like mothballs to me. What I hope people who tell me my voice has matured, either metaphorically or literally, mean is that my stuff is complex, layered, and interesting. I sometimes get called wise, too, and I like that just fine. I like it a lot, actually, because there is always space for a wise fool. I suppose, too, that I can't help but keep returning to the idea that labeling my current work as mature suggests that my previous work is less than. And I just don't appreciate any compliments from my newborn that insult my previous creative children. I don't mean to make anyone self-conscious about giving me compliments. I don't receive quite enough of them to start getting picky about them. Believe me, I sincerely thanked every person who called my work mature, because it feels appropriate to accept a compliment in the spirit it was given, even if it has an odor of backhandedness about it. I will say, though, that no one has seen enough of my body of work to make such a judgment. The only human to have a thorough enough experience of my oeuvre would be my mother. She's the only one who's seen enough of it to make that call. And I think the last time she called me mature was when I was a teenager. I was very mature then. I'm not sure I am anymore. So, if you are tempted to call someone's work mature, maybe dig a little deeper. What do you mean? Is the work complicated, layered, deep, rich? I mean, let's look at wine and cheese. We don't stop at describing a wine or cheese mature. We call it nutty, or grassy, or robust, or smooth. I would be so delighted to have my work described with the subtlety of wine or cheese descriptions. Some of my work may be mature. It may be immature. Neither of those categories is useful to me. Call it robust or nutty, though. I'm going to eat that up. There we have it. Mature. Yeah. The side effect of this one was getting people to actually tell me things about my work, which was really fun. I got some nice descriptions, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And one of my patrons from Patreon and a good dear friend wrote me a little note about this post and said it expressed something about maturity that he had been struggling with. So I guess it speaks to more than just artists, this idea of being mature. Yeah, so what can I tell you? I am working on putting together all the lullabies to put them out into the world, out. I will sell them on my website, and I will put them on Spotify and various other digital platforms. So that's in process. I'm working on a couple of things with that. I was all ready to kind of put it out, and then I realized I wanted to be able to put some photos of the various babies that some of these songs were written for. So I'm going through a process of reaching out to some friends of mine and asking for their adorable pictures of their babies sleeping. So that held up that process. And like right as I was thinking, okay, I'm ready to do this, I was like, you know what? I have these 2 other songs that I started a long time ago. One probably 5 or 6 years ago, and the other maybe a year or 2. ago, and I was like, wouldn't it be great if I could just finish those up and add them to this round, thinking like, oh, it's going to take too long. And it did not take too long at all. I don't know why it took me so long to finish them, or to like, I think I just needed to like sit down and do it. So there are 2 new lullabies that are now finally complete, neither of which I had written down anywhere or even had recordings of, but both of them were enough in my head that it actually didn't take that long to finish them up. So those are going to show up here on the podcast before probably the whole album comes out. So this one is... it's called Sci-Fi Children, and I wrote it for my friends who named both of their children after characters in sci-fi books. So yeah, they're both of their children have unique and cool names from novels. So the song is for them, and they have not yet heard it yet. Not yet heard it yet? They have not heard it yet. They have not yet heard it. So probably before I release this podcast, I want to make sure that I give them a copy. And yeah, I decided to put that one here rather than the other one because I have made some very immature sounds on it, and there's some silliness, which this is actually like the first time I've kind of messed around. Is it the first time? It's a time I've messed around a little bit with making sound. So it's very immature, and I hope that you will enjoy my immaturity and this song, which is called Sci-Fi Children. Sci-fi children born to change the world. They're sci-fi children, a boy and a girl. Sci-fi children with sci-fi on the shelves. Sci-fi children will save us from ourselves. They could take us to another planet. They could take us way beyond the stars. They could take us years into the future, to a life on Jupiter or Mars. Sci-fi children born to change the world. They're sci-fi children, a boy and a girl. Sci-fi children with sci-fi on the shelves. Sci-fi children will save us from ourselves. They could eat things that we never heard of. They could live under the ocean deep. They could invent things we never dreamed of. But they will still need to sleep. Sci-fi children, before you save the world. Sci-fi children, not just boys and girls. Sci-fi children, before you start your quest. Sci-fi children, it's time to get some rest. Sci-fi children, it's time to get some rest. Sci-fi children, it's time to get some rest.